He saved Rome from collapse with just his words, and years later, those same words got him killed. Cicero, ancient Rome's greatest speaker and its last true defender of the Republic. A man who understood something most leaders never learn. Real power doesn't come from controlling people. It comes from embodying principles they can't ignore. And when you stand for something true, when you refuse to bend, when you speak truth to power, eventually power will try to silence you. But by then, it's too late. The truth is already out there, and truth outlasts everything, even death. So let's go back. About 2,000 years ago, Rome, the most powerful city on earth, but it's falling apart from the inside. Corruption everywhere. Politicians buying votes. The rich getting richer by stealing from the public. Democracy dying while everyone pretends everything's fine. And right in the middle of this mess is Cicero, a lawyer, a senator, someone who actually cares about the Republic, about justice, about doing things the right way. And he's watching Rome destroy itself. Most people in his position would stay quiet, keep their heads down, go along to get along. Because speaking up is dangerous. Powerful people don't like being exposed. Corruption doesn't appreciate being named. And Rome has a history of making troublemakers disappear. But Cicero can't stay quiet. Because he understands something fundamental. In public life, in leadership, integrity isn't optional. It's everything. The moment leaders lose integrity, the moment they start serving themselves instead of the people, the entire system collapses. And he sees it happening. He sees senators taking bribes. He sees generals using public office for personal gain. He sees people who should be protecting the Republic instead selling it piece by piece for their own benefit. So he speaks. He gives speeches exposing corruption, naming names, calling out specific acts, making it impossible to ignore what's happening, and people start listening. Because Cicero isn't just complaining, he's documenting. He's making legal cases. He's showing exactly how the Republic is being destroyed. There's this conspiracy, a senator named Catiline trying to overthrow the government, planning to kill other senators, burn Rome, take power by force, and everyone knows something's wrong, but nobody has proof. Except Cicero. He gathers evidence, builds the case. And then he stands in the Senate and delivers a speech that changes everything. He looks directly at Catiline and says, "How long will you abuse our patience? How long will that madness of yours mock us? To what end will your unbridled audacity display itself?" He's not subtle. He's not political. He's direct, accusatory, truth spoken plainly with evidence to back it up. And it works. Catiline's conspiracy falls apart. The coup is stopped. Rome is saved. All because one man had the integrity to speak truth even when it was dangerous. And that's Cicero's power, not physical strength, not military might, not wealth or connections, just integrity. Just the willingness to stand for what's right even when it costs him. Especially when it costs him. He said, "The safety of the people shall be the highest law." That's his principle. That's what guides everything. Leaders exist to serve the people, not themselves, not their friends, not their party. The people, and when leaders forget that, when they start serving themselves, they've betrayed everything leadership means. But here's what makes Cicero different from most people who talk about integrity. He lives it, even when it destroys him. Because years later, when a dictator takes power, when Rome becomes an empire, Cicero speaks out again, writes speeches against tyranny, defends the Republic even though the Republic is already dead. And it gets him killed. The dictator sends soldiers. They find Cicero. And he doesn't run, doesn't beg. He just accepts it, because he knows he spoke truth. He knows he stood for what was right, and that matters more than living as a coward. His last words are about his writings, about making sure his speeches survive. Because he knows something, you can kill the man, but you can't kill the truth he spoke. The words remain. The principles remain. The example remains, and 2,000 years later, we're still reading his speeches, still learning from his integrity, still seeing him as an example of what leadership should be, while the dictator who killed him is remembered as a tyrant, while the corrupt senators he exposed are forgotten. That's the power of integrity. It outlasts everything else, outlasts wealth, outlasts power, outlasts life itself, because truth has a weight that lies never have. And people remember those who stood for truth long after they forget those who stood for nothing. Now, let's bring this to your life, because you're facing the same choice Cicero faced. Maybe not on the same scale, but the same essential choice. Do you have integrity or don't you? Do you stand for something or don't you? Do you speak truth or stay quiet? Think about your workplace. You probably see things that are wrong. Maybe not corruption on Cicero's level, but things that aren't right. People taking credit for others' work. Decisions being made that hurt the team but benefit someone powerful. Things being done that violate stated values. And you have a choice. Speak up or stay quiet. Stand for what's right or go along. Be someone with integrity or be someone who's just trying to survive. Most people choose survival because speaking up is risky. It makes you a target. It makes powerful people uncomfortable. And uncomfortable, powerful people can make your life difficult. So people rationalize. They say it's not their problem. They say one person can't change anything. They say they need to protect their career, but Cicero would say those are just excuses. Comfortable lies you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of integrity. Because integrity is uncomfortable. It costs something. It requires courage, and most people would rather be comfortable than courageous. Or think about your personal life, your relationships, your choices. Are you living with integrity? Are your actions matching your values? Are you being who you say you are? Or are you compromising, justifying, rationalizing why this situation is different? Integrity means consistency. It means your private self matches your public self. It means you do what's right even when nobody's watching, even when it costs you, even when it would be easier to compromise. And most people don't have this. They have different versions of themselves. The person they present to the world, the person they are when nobody's watching, the person they are when it's convenient versus when it's hard. They're fractured, inconsistent, without integrity in the literal sense because they're not integrated, not whole. Cicero was whole. What he said publicly, he believed privately. What he stood for in speeches, he lived in life. What he demanded from others, he demanded from himself. That's integrity. That's what made him powerful. That's what made him dangerous to corrupt people. Because you can compromise with someone who has no principles. You can bargain, you can find their price, but you can't compromise with someone who has real integrity. Someone who won't bend. Someone who would rather die than betray what they stand for. That's terrifying to people in power, because it can't be controlled. Here's what this looks like practically. You see something wrong happening. Maybe at work. Maybe in your community, maybe in your family. Something that violates what you claim to believe, what you say you value. Cicero would ask you one question. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to speak? Are you going to stand? Are you going to be someone with integrity? Or are you going to rationalize staying quiet, going along, protecting yourself, because that's the test. That's where integrity is proven or revealed as absent. Not in easy situations, in hard ones, when speaking up costs you, when standing for what's right makes your life harder. That's when you find out if you actually have integrity or just talk about it. Cicero knew this. He knew that defending the Republic would cost him. He knew speaking against tyranny would probably get him killed. He did it anyway. Because integrity isn't about outcomes. It's about being who you say you are, regardless of outcomes. Most people will fail this test. They'll compromise, rationalize, stay quiet, protect themselves. And they'll live longer than Cicero did, but they won't live better. They won't leave a legacy. They won't stand for anything. They'll just survive, which is not the same as living. But you can be different. You can choose integrity. Not perfectly. Nobody's perfect. But consistently. In the small moments and the big ones. When it costs you and when it doesn't, you can be someone whose words match their actions. Whose public face matches their private character. Who stands for something real. That's what Cicero showed. That's what made him great. Not his intelligence. Not his oratory skills. His integrity. His willingness to be who he said he was, even when it destroyed him. His refusal to compromise on what mattered. His commitment to truth over comfort. And the result, he died. But his words lived. His example lived. His integrity lived. 2,000 years later, we still read him. Still respect him. Still see him as a model of what leadership should be. While the people who killed him are remembered as villains, if they're remembered at all. That's the power of integrity in public life. In any life, it might not save you, but it creates something that outlasts you. Truth, example, a standard others can point to and say, that's what it looks like to actually stand for something. Cicero stood for Rome, for the Republic, for the people over the powerful, and he died for it. But Rome died too. The Republic died. The empire that replaced it eventually fell. But Cicero's words, still here, still teaching, still showing us what integrity looks like when it actually costs something. Most people want to be remembered, want to matter, want to leave something behind, but they also want comfort, safety, an easy life. And you can't have both. You can't stand for something and also stand for nothing. You can't have integrity and also bend whenever it's convenient. You have to choose, and the choice you make determines not just how you live, but what you leave behind. Cicero chose integrity, and 2,000 years later, we're still talking about it, still learning from it, still inspired by it. The question is, what will you choose? And what will that choice create? Subscribe for more wisdom that challenges you to actually live what you claim to believe.